Hi there, I'm Ann Taylor Pittman, Executive Editor at Cooking Light. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I have a really fun main dish salad that is perfect for summer. It's a fun riff on a traditional recipe, so let me show you how to make it. Let me get my skillet turned on here and get it really nice and hot. So what I'm making today is tuna Niçoise whole grain bowls. So a tuna Niçoise or a Niçoise salad is a traditional salad, usually kind of composed where you have ingredients grouped, and it consists of boiled potatoes, blanched haricot vert or green beans, fresh tuna, lettuce, olives, tomatoes. It's really nice, but we're giving it a whole grain spin. We're using a base of rye berries for our bowls instead of making it more of a leafy salad. So it's going to make it feel a little more substantial, a little heartier, but still perfect for summer. So while this is heating, I have a tuna steak. So right now we have a half pound tuna steak, a really nice quality tuna steak. That's enough for 4 whole grain bowls. So the tuna is an accompaniment. It's not the center of the bowl. The center of the bowl is actually going to be the whole grain. So this is a great way to stretch a slightly pricey a slightly pricey piece of fish. You don't need that much here, but we're going to have just enough to make it feel like a Niçoise and make it feel nice and indulgent. Now you could also use a different fish. You could use salmon if you'd like and just kind of flake it into big chunks. That would be delicious. You could certainly use chicken if you'd like. You can sear up a chicken breast. That would be lovely. Okay. So I'm sprinkling on a combination of ground fennel seeds, which add kind of a nice anise flavor, a little bit of salt, and a little bit of pepper onto this steak. Now, when you're cooking tuna, typically you want to cook it rare. That just makes it more succulent, and that's how it's traditionally done. You could certainly cook it a little longer, but it does tend to get dry. So that's why you want to look for a high quality tuna. You want to look for a high quality tuna steak, or sushi grade would be ideal. So just sort of disperse those spices onto here. I'm going directly into my hot skillet. Not quite hot enough. It didn't quite sizzle up the way I had hoped. So I might cook it a little bit longer. It only needs to go about a minute to a minute and a half per side. Let me set this aside. Okay, so while that's going, let me talk to you about the rye berries. So rye berries are the whole grain that we're using for this salad. I have some cooked and I have some uncooked that I wanted to show you. So rye berries uncooked look like this. They're really lovely. They have almost like a bluish sort of tint to them. They're wonderful. It tastes like rye. Oh, I think I have a question.
And Ariel wants to know, how long will tuna hold in the fridge? If I want leftovers for lunch the next day, is that safe?
Absolutely, yes. If you have a good fresh tuna steak here, you can hold over your cooked leftovers and enjoy them the next day. I would say no more than 2 days might be the max, and after that you're kind of pushing it. But definitely leftovers the next day for lunch would be perfect. Okay, so these are the rye berries. It's just a fun grain. It's a different grain than maybe you might be familiar with, so I encourage you to give it a try. Like rye, if you know rye flour, rye bread, it sort of has, it's definitely nutty. There's a very slight tanginess to it. You could definitely substitute another grain, any grain that you like, but I'm going to encourage you to go whole grain here. We want to get more whole grains into our diet for more nutrition, for more health benefits. You could use quinoa, you could use farro, wheat berries, bulgur, any whole grain you like. We started with 1 cup of uncooked rye berries, and that cooks up to 3 cups of cooked grains. So if you're subbing in another grain, you just want to start with 3 cups. This makes 4 servings, so each serving gets about 3/4 cup of grains as the base. So let's see. Let me go ahead and flip this over with my tongs here, and then I'll swap to different tongs when I pull it off the heat. Okay, so I'm gonna combine the rye berries and a little bit of parsley in a bowl here. 1/4 cup of parsley leaves. You can sub in any herb you like, maybe not a 1/4 cup, but certainly basil you could use a 1/4 cup if you'd like. You could use tarragon, maybe use a tablespoon because that's pretty potent. Those would be my top 2 recommendations. They're just going to taste a little fresher and more summery. But parsley is a-okay. So I just pulled the leaves. Some of them are a little large, so I'm just going to kind of break them apart a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to mix up some dressing. Now, I think my tuna steak is probably about ready to come out. Again, we're just going for a sear, like that. But we want the tuna steak to be mostly rare. Yeah, another question.
And Brianna wants to know, how do you cook rye berries? Do you cook it like rice?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm sorry, I totally skipped over that. If you look at the full recipe, it gives you instructions, but I'll give you the lowdown. With something like rye berries that take anywhere from 30 minutes to maybe 50 minutes, depending on how old and how dry the grains are, I suggest cooking it like pasta. Meaning start with a large volume of water that you intend to drain off. So start with a large volume of water, bring it to a boil, add the rye berries, and then cook it. These that I made today took about 40 minutes, but start checking for doneness after about 35 minutes and just know it might take 50 minutes, maybe even an hour, depending on how frankly old the rye berries are. When they're done, just drain them in a colander like you would pasta. That's, to me, the best and easiest way to cook longer cooking grains like that. So, okay. Let me mix up my dressing here. I have 3 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice, 2 tablespoons of minced shallots. You could definitely substitute onion, red onion, a tablespoon of chopped thyme. Thyme has such a lovely flavor. Wonderful in salad dressings. A teaspoon and a half of Dijon mustard. That's going to help the dressing emulsify, and it's also going to add wonderful flavor. And then a little bit of salt and pepper. And then I have some olive oil that I'm going to gradually add as I'm whisking. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and point out my bandage here. I burned myself. I have a whole grain injury. I spilled molten oatmeal on my wrist. And let me just tell you, that hurts and it burns. So be careful. Be careful with your oatmeal. Be careful with your whole grains. So I'm just adding a little bit of oil at a time. I'm whisking as I go for this dressing. And adding a little bit of oil at a time just kind of helps you emulsify things. And what I mean by emulsify is that the oil and the acid, the lemon juice in this case, could be vinegar if you were making a vinaigrette, that it combines and isn't separated. So, you know, oil typically wants to float on the surface, but we're going for an emulsification here. Yeah, another question.
And where can you find rye berries?
Oh, great question. So we typically find rye berries in the bulk bin of stores like Whole Foods, maybe Fresh Market, or oh, I forget the name. There's a store that might be a small chain. I forget what it's called, something like Organic Harvest. Or you can find it in bags, usually made by Bob's Red Mill. They're a brand that I know makes it and sells it by the rice, the dried rice and grains. You can always order it if you can't find it. I think it's worth experimenting with. I just think it has a great flavor. But again, you could substitute any whole grain you like.
And Gulshan wants to know, is that olive oil?
Yes, this is extra virgin olive oil that I'm just adding painstakingly, I know, a little bit at a time, just so that the dressing emulsifies. If you add it all at once, it's just harder to get the ingredients to emulsify. So that's why I'm adding a little bit at a time. And that is the dressing. It's just fresh lemon juice, fresh thyme, some shallot, the olive oil, Dijon mustard. That Dijon, again, helps with the emulsification. It helps to kind of bring everything together. Okay, and that's the dressing. Alrighty. Now, I have a few more ingredients that go into the salad. Let me get ready for those. Okay, so boiled eggs are a big part, a major component of salad niçoise. So I'm going to go through a little bit, I'm hoping that it cooperates on camera, of how I find the most success with peeling eggs. I know a lot of times people have trouble, especially if their eggs are very fresh. I know these were very fresh. So let me show you my tips for peeling hard-boiled eggs. So I always kind of loud. I always crack it sort of all over, and then I roll it to create a lot of little fissures and cracks in that shell. I don't know if we can get a close-up on this, but just I want lots and lots of little cracks. What that does is it helps to break the seal. You know, when you're peeling an egg, there's the shell, and then there's this little sort of membrane that wants to cling on to the egg and stay stuck to the egg. When you break all these tiny little fractures here, what it does is it helps create more sort of breaking points in that membrane so that it doesn't stick to the shell. On the bigger end of the egg, the wider end, that's where I always start peeling because there's a little bit of an air pocket there that you can kind of get into. And then because I have all those wonderful little breaks, that membrane is not sticking to the egg. I'm so glad this is cooperating on camera. I'm able to pretty cleanly and easily peel that shell off. And these were super fresh eggs. Fresher eggs are harder to peel typically. I'm going to peel one more because I want to show the difference between a 7-minute egg and an 8.5-minute egg. So I boiled for different times just so you can see the difference. Sometimes no matter what you do, the egg shell is not going to cooperate, but hopefully this guy will too. Yep, I'm just able to get in there because I have broken sort of the seal of that membrane. I'm able to get that shell off pretty easily. Isn't that nice? Look at that. Yeah, feels good. Okay. I forgot to grab a knife. Hold on one second. I forget every time where the knives are. Okay. Here we go. Okay. So, like I said, I have one that I cooked for 8.5 minutes. That's this guy. Cut him in half and see. Ooh, that's nice. So that's what I would call like kind of a creamy, jammy yolk. It's really nice. Now I'm going straight from the refrigerator into simmering water. So the eggs are not at room temperature. I'm going straight from fridge into the simmering water. This is what 8.5 minutes looks like. And then over here, yeah, that's my kind of egg right there. That's 7 minutes. So it's going to give you that nice sort of soft center, soft gooey center. That's a soft boiled egg. Wonderful. Okay, so now I'm ready to kind of pull my components together. Let me cut. I have some potatoes that I have cooked. These little, look how adorable these are. Little red potatoes that I simmered until they got done. I'm only going to cut up half of them because I'm going to plate 2 bowls. Plate 2 bowls? That's kind of weird. But bowl up 2 bowls. I'm going to dish up 2 bowls. So I'm just going to cut these in half. If you have larger potatoes, you should probably quarter them. You know, a traditional new potato might be just a little bit big if you cut it in half. So just cut them into quarters. Okay, let me just start kind of getting my components together. So I'm going to toss half of the dressing with this rye berry mixture. So that's my wonderful emulsified lemon dressing. And here I just have the rye berries. Again, substitute any whole grain you like with some nice fresh parsley. And let me just start dishing it up. Again, each serving gets about 3/4 of a cup of the rye berries, which is really pretty nice and hefty. I like a wide, shallow bowl for something like this so that you can sort of spread out your toppings, create a really pretty Instagram-worthy moment here. I have some other components I'm going to add. I have some halved grape tomatoes and some halved Kalamata olives. Now the recipe calls for Picholine olives, which are specialty. They might be a little bit hard to find. Any olive you like will be great here. So I'm just subbing in some Kalamata olives. So let me just start kind of arranging things here. This guy's going to get the soft cooked eggs.
And Lavinia wants to know how long she can keep the dressing.
Oh, that's a great question. This dressing I think you can keep for a week. So it might be great. I like to, if I'm making dressing, I'm gonna go ahead and make a fair amount so that I have some on hand. You can shake it up in a jar, just store it in the jar so you can double this and keep it for a week and use it for salads throughout the week. Okay, let me just start arranging my tomatoes here. If you have some nice multicolored tomatoes from the farmer's market or your own garden, they would be lovely here for sure. Some of those nice olives. I'm saving some room here for my tuna. We're not going to do too many olives. Now notice I've only used half of the dressing. The rest is going to get drizzled on for a nice final touch. Okay. Now let me slice up this tuna. Yeah, that's nice. So see how lovely and pink it is here. We want that sort of just seared, cooked to rare. You can definitely cook it longer, as I said. It will tend to dry out if you cook it well done, for sure. I'm going to go ahead and slice up all of this, but of course only use half of it for the 2 bowls. Again, it's a great way to stretch a little bit of animal or fish protein over 4 servings. Just 8 ounces of fish, or if you want to use poultry, you could even use steak. Just 8 ounces will go great over the 4 bowls. It's you know, a way to stretch meat and a way to think of the meat or fish or poultry as more of a condiment than the center of the plate or the bowl, as it were. So I'm just going to do 3 nice slices here, 3 nice slices here, and that is it. That is our tuna Niçoise whole grain bowls. You can definitely customize. You can cook your eggs to your liking. You can use whatever protein you like. Tofu would be great here with that fennel spice rub. That would be wonderful. So that's it for today. Please let me know in the comments if you have certain types of recipes or dishes that you'd like me to try to make here on this. And please share this video. Please like it. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button so you'll get notifications when we go live. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next month.